Welcome, everybody, to the Anvil Art Studio. I'm Bill Brown Jr., and I've been here for 40 years this year. I grew up at Penland School. My dad was the director there for 22 years, and at the time, they didn't have a blacksmithing studio. I started out doing traditional work in Savannah, Georgia. I was an apprentice with Ivan Bailey for about a year and a half in Savannah, and then came back up into the mountains and built Penland's first resident studio, and then also built their first studio for students. I moved up here to Linville Falls in 1981, and just this building by itself was here. And this is a 2,000 square foot building, which back then I thought was absolutely huge. There was nothing in it, and now it is packed full, so you can't ever have a big enough building. So anyway. So I did start in Savannah, as I was saying, with traditional style work, and came up here to begin with thinking that's what I was going to do with gates and railings, and did that for a few years, and then realized I wanted to do something else and try to turn the traditional work and techniques into more of sculptural work. So that's the way I drifted, and have been doing that ever since. So anyway. So today I'd like to have you all come in the studio and see what we have tool-wise and how it's been set up for the last 40 years, or being set up, so as it's grown in size. It's the 1-ton crane that lets me move heavy things through the building and not have to figure out a way to carry them. It's a 1-ton crane, or with a 1-ton lift, and it goes 360 degrees around the building. Pretty well will cover the whole space. It's a wonderful thing to have, so you're not hurting yourself picking up things. All right, this is the leveling table that I use in here, and I've had it, I guess, for nearly 40 years. It's one of the most important pieces of equipment I've got. There are 2 slabs here. One is 3/4 inch thick. This one is 1 1/4 inch thick. So they're really heavy tables. This table weighs 1 ton by itself, this half. And what I did here is I put 2 together so that what I could do, they're tacked together right here and on the other side, so they stay together and they stay flat. But when I've had really big projects in here, I can lift it with this crane, split this table, break the weld, and move the tables apart so I get a gap between them, say a 3-foot gap. So all of a sudden that allows me to get much more distance in it than I had, and keep level them both up and then work across the 2 of them. All right, everybody, let's see. We're moving on a few more feet further. This is the cutoff saw, my big cutoff saw, and it'll cut a piece by 9 inches by 16 inches. So it's a nice size saw. And over to my left here is a Mubia shear, and it's a shear and a punch. So it will shear material here, flat stock, angle iron in here, and it will punch. I believe it'll punch round holes up to 1 1/8 inch and square up to 1 inch. So it's a wonderful machine to have. These work on 3-phase. I've got 3-phase and standard electric in this shop, so I've got both things going on, so I can use it when I need to for the equipment that I have. This is, I thought you all might like to see this. This is a rack for holding short pieces of metal, which is always a problem in the shop, and others I know. How do you arrange and hold on to your smaller pieces and links that you can still use? So a wonderful fellow named Charles Jevons, who worked for me out of Canada some years ago, devised this, and I thought it was a great way to do it. You can go with small stock up to about 4 feet to 5 feet. Mine, of course, always gets messed up, but he goes angle iron, round, square, and bring it up, and you can store it. I do have some things that are hooked directly to the floor, and this leg vise is one of them. And of course, when you set up a leg vise, make sure it goes to the floor. In this case, I have steel underneath the very bottom of the leg vise, so you can take a hammer and drive it down. For those of you who don't know, have maybe never set up a leg vise before. Then this tool, which everybody probably knows about, is a porta-band saw. And if you don't have enough money for a big band saw, a floor band saw, those are great to have, and you can cut anything with them. So I cut 2x4s in PVC pipe and steel. But anyway, they're a wonderful thing to have. I have it close to the vise so I can cut and put down what I don't cut in the great big saw. This is a coal forge, of course. It's even got the old hand crank on it. And it has a motor on the other side, so I can use the hand crank, or I can use the electric blower. And we use coal, and it's the last one that I have in here. I used to use for 15, 20 years, I used nothing but coal with 2 forges. Now I use the gas forges because they're just so much easier and cleaner for me and quicker, so as far as getting a big heat. But anyway, this was built by a dear friend of mine many, many years ago, and it's a wonderful thing to still have. This is the 12-burner NC tool forge, which is wonderful for putting great big long material in, and it's great to have. And as we turn, and again, now this one is on wheels, and I also have my gas that I can unclip it with an air hose or an air hose type coupling, so I can switch forges if I want to switch the forges and move things around. I have different places to hook up my gas, so again I can be mobile, which is much better for me than being locked down and can't move my equipment around. Okay, moving on here. Excuse me. Hammer racks. Simple hammer racks are just they're just 2 pieces of angle iron across with the ends and then down on the floor, and you can slip your hammers in. They're easy to use, and also they're very movable. I can move them out of the way, as we've discussed. And then anvils. Through the years, I've been lucky enough to get quite a few different anvils through my years. Now I wished I had all I'd ever seen, but anyway, these are the ones I've got. This is my newest little forge from NC Tool. Sounds like they should give me some extra money for doing all their advertising. But anyway, this is a little single burner, which you can put material right straight through it, run it off a camper tank. It's really easy to set up, really easy to use. It's on wheels also, so it can go. And my favorite anvil is this one right here. Russell Jakeway made these anvils years ago, started the company, Nimba Forge, the Nimba anvils, and it's all 4140 tool steel, weighs 450 pounds. The sweet thing about it is you got the big wide face, but you also go off to the small, tiny ends, so you can work very tiny work along with really big work. So one anvil does all of it, so it's really, really, really nice. Swedge blocks are over here, and this is Wally Yater developed these swedge blocks, and these are actually, I've had them so long, I guess I bought these in 1978, 79 from Wally himself, I believe, as I remember. And they're a matching set, so they're the same physical size, but they have different swedges, places for different swedging in different areas in it. So, and they're all cast. And I love that Wally made them, so that's great. So then switching to this hammer, this is called a Ritter hammer. Now they're called Kuhn hammers, I believe, with Kuhn with a K. They're a German machine, and they're self-contained hammers, and they work the same way. You have a lot of control. You have a lot of control with these hammers, and this one I've had for 38 years, I believe, and it's never given me any trouble. I put belts on it twice maybe in this amount of time. Keep them oiled up and greased up, and they're amazing little hammers. Okay, this is just a simple little table that I made in the 1970s, and I just made it out of things that I could find. And what it is it's a hold-down table that you can hammer on. And what it does, it locks down with a agricultural spring, pull spring, and then you can just pop it back out or step back down and hook it in. And then it locks this completely down, and you can cut and punch right on this table. So 1-inch thick steel top, easy to make, and I've had it for a long, long time and still use it. So this is the 3B Nazel, so it's a little bit lighter than the 5B you saw outside. And it has about a 3,800-pound blow to it. Works the same way, is a great hammer. I did have it It came out of Canada, and I knew when I got it here that it wasn't working quite right, and it wasn't pulling itself up into the top. And I called my friend Russell Jakeway, and it was throwing oil up at the ceiling. And I said, Russell, I said, what do I do about the oil in the ceiling? He said, I wear a hat. So anyway, mine still wasn't working, and I was wearing a hat. So I had to replace the rings in it. And the rings in this hammer is leather. That's how old this hammer is. So they're heavy leather rings, and the oil comes out behind the rings and makes the seal, which makes the airtight seal, which makes the hammer go up and down. This I haven't put its block in here yet, so this also has split dies, which are a little bit tighter dies with the fullering die, and then I have flat dies for it that I can switch. Oh. Okay, and this is roughly a 75-ton press, and it works off of air. And I plug my air into this down here, this Enerpack, which you can buy at any good store, Granger's, that kind of thing. And it works with a pedal through the air. And then this, I devised a way that I could adjust this table with these square rollers, so I can press into that and get different shapes. Do it cold. It's great for doing curves and circles and so on. So that's a pretty good working thing. And this all adjusts sideways, back and forth. This picks up and down. So you get a lot of diversity with this press. This table is I believe we're about 14 feet long here, roughly. This is 12, and then 2 more. And I use it for doing long layouts. That we can do, and use another welder over here, and have things being built over here while things are done on that table also. These are just beginning to be some examples of some of the work I've done or have. Got some apples here. We're getting ready got to put some more paint on those and some better finish. This is glass and steel combined. Glass I did years ago. This is playing with some forged glass and steel together. These are some sconce fronts that I'm working on, and the glass drops in here, and the electrical goes right in the back here. So, and then they just go right to the wall with 2 screws. Okay, now we're quit fooling around. We're getting really serious now. This is the can crusher, which everybody needs. For their home and garden use, is the can crusher. Save your aluminum. And now we'll go out to the air compressor, which runs this, which is maybe more interesting. I'm not sure. Okay, this is of course a bobcat or skid steer. And I use it for lifting heavy pieces up outside, putting them on trailers, or even moving trailers. We've got the hitch on there. We can put on that, put it back and forth. But this is a great human saver with setting the big sculptures and stuff around the yard and so on around here, and also taking it out on other job sites. So it's great help. So I put a little crane system on the front of it, and it makes life a lot easier. And with that, on this side, we have the air compressor, which is actually pushing the can. Open this. Well, and now out here is the 15. This is an air compressor. I've got a 15 horse 3-phase air compressor, which feeds air into the shop. That pretty much runs around the whole building that we can do. And I can also sandblast out here. On this side of me, on the left-hand side of me, I've got another tank, which is in another little shed here, which is an 80-gallon tank. So I run about 200 gallons plus 80, so 280 gallons for the air storage. So this thing doesn't run as much with that much storage. It saves the machine, saves electricity, but also gives me an incredible amount of air that I can use in the shop to make things work. So now we've looked at all the tools and the things in the studio and how things are made, and this now becomes a piece that has been made with some of those tools. This piece is called the Navigator, and it's going to Charlotte, going to find a home in Charlotte, and with an insurance company, I guess. So anyway, but we've used a lot of these same tools that we just showed you in there out here. This piece was made with all those tools that you saw in the studio, and its name is the Mediator, and the wheels that turn, the spokes are forged. These big stanchions are all forged hot and put together. The top of this, though, was rolled by a company in Charlotte. So I don't feel I need to make every part to get it done. I'm looking for a certain look and a certain feel that I need to get to do what I need to do. So I use whatever I can to get there. And with that, we're going to take a little tour of the sculpture garden out here and see some other work. Well, it's been wonderful having you all here today on such a beautiful day. I hope you enjoyed the studio and where I've worked for the last 40 years. So it's been an amazing journey for me, and I hope you all got a little piece of the idea anyway. And I hope the rest of the festival goes well for you and you see things that you enjoy. Thank you for coming.